Hello and welcome to Talk Lit Get Hit, a podcast where we read questionable books recommended to us by social media and talk shit about them.
We're Bridget, Erin and Laura, three friends who haven't mentally progressed since high school, where we bonded over a love of music and books, but mainly Twilight.
Brace yourself for a heady cocktail of somewhat highbrow and incredibly lowbrow ramblings about all the books the internet loves and our journey to figure out why.
Welcome back. Happy New Year. We are finally free of the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. Watery bowels, fiddles, worms, snarling, purring, and all that jazz. Our first book for 2023 is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, and we can't wait for you to hear the episode. Before we dive into our discussion, let's have a little catch up. Actually, first thing we need to discuss, were your Spotify Wrapped results as you expected?
Mine weren't. Mine absolutely weren't. But mine were K-pop heavy, so not really anything that you would understand or know what I'm talking about. But yeah,
I'm done with the kids. I've heard of BTS.
Blackpink.
Not BTS, but that's okay.
How you like that? Very underground K-pop fan.
It's not underground. I promise it's not underground. It's just not known to you two. But my top artist was a K-pop group called 17.
Okay.
Luckily not Machine Gun Kelly. Oh God.
Yeah.
What was your top song?
It was a song by an artist called Dio. So he's from the K-pop group EXO.
Oh.
So it's a song called I'm Gonna Love You, which I apparently listened to only 30 times, which does not seem like a lot for a top song, right? But
Yeah.
I know. I don't believe the results. I don't believe mine.
But it validates for me that I listen to so many different times, like songs and stuff, that if my top song I only listen to 30 times, obviously I'm listening to a bunch of shit all the time.
Yeah, all of it bogan, according to Spotify.
Yeah, I did get roasted. I got hit with the double bogan on the...
Yeah.
Yeah. It hurts. It still hurts. And I don't understand how when, like, 3 of my top 5 artists are K-pop and all my top songs are K-pop, how is that bogan?
Yeah.
I can only assume that listening to, like, Violent Soho and Lime Cordial has gotten me bogan in there.
There must just really been scrambling. How about you, Laura? Was yours accurate? What was yours?
Mine was Carly Rae. My top song was Carly Rae, and my top artist was Carly Rae, I think.
Hey.
Yeah, so it's pretty accurate. I do still think that it's not entirely accurate. I know it doesn't count up to the full year, but like, you know, those Receiptify things where you can, like it's linked to your Spotify data, but you can see what your most listened to things or songs have been for the past 6 months all time or the past year to the date that you log in. And it didn't match up with what my Spotify Wrapped was, but that's okay.
Ooh, drama.
It's okay.
So I use Apple Music, and in a surprise to nobody, top artist was Taylor Swift. The top song was Bejeweled.
Ooh.
At 89 plays.
I can't believe that.
And then All Too Well 10-minute version was second at 84 plays.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
That's quite impressive given its length.
I know. I listened to 1,078 artists and 23,238 minutes of Taylor Swift. My second artist was Maisie Peters at 3,000 minutes.
I remember you sent me how much you listened to Taylor Swift. And like your length of time spent listening to Taylor Swift was like quadruple the total amount of time I spent listening to music all year.
That's so funny.
Cooked. I should get a Spotify Wrapped, but for audiobooks though. Because I think most of my...
That would be so cool.
Yeah, like most of my ear time is spent trying to smash through audiobooks. So segueing from listening Wrapped to reading Wrapped, reading goals. What are your reading goals for 2023? Like, did you meet 2022's goal?
I always set deliberately low reading challenges because I'm bad at reading things. And then I can surprise myself if I do pretty good. So I think my goal for 2022 was 12. And at the time of recording, I finished on 21 books read.
That's good.
Yeah, it seemed reasonable. So factoring in the pod, I'll also aim for 12. next year.
I love the way that you've managed your own expectations there. That's great. Customer service within your own mind. It's really innovative.
If I get really close to like the 12, I'll up it to like 15. And if I get close to 15, I up it to 20. What about you guys? What were your goals? Bridget's, actually, you go first, Laura, because Bridget set a goal for herself at the end of the last pod, and we need to know. The people need to know. So you go.
They need
first, Laura.
answers. Me, I think I set mine at 50 and I have met that goal.
Incredible.
Yeah. And I think I actually always aim for 50, and it might be one of the few years that I've actually met it. I think I've met it twice, including this year gone by, 2022.
Incredible.
Yeah, so I might go for 50 again. I have to be honest, probably like, I don't know, at least 50% of the books I read were audiobooks. I sort of would read one physical book and listen to an audiobook concurrently. I was like, I don't know.
That still counts,
Just
though.
smashing it. Yeah, I mean, I still put in the hours.
She's putting in the work.
Yep, on that grind.
Girl boss.
Yeah.
So you're going to have 50 again next year, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Wow. You guys aim high. I am so low.
Yeah, but I mean, I've only met that goal twice. So
No, I believe in you.
Thank you.
Okay, Laura. Bridget, it's the moment of truth.
So the last pod I thought that I made the bold claim that I could read 100 books by the end of the year. I think I was at 64 or something. And that was, I think we recorded that 2 weeks ago. So now I'm at 82 books.
Oh my God.
So I have about 2 weeks to read 18 books, but I think that'll be fine.
That's
because I've
nothing for you.
read about 6 this week.
Yeah, I asked Bridget how her day was today, and she was like, yeah, good. I read 2 books. 2 books in one day.
Get out.
One of them was never.
One of them was Rich Fulcher's book, he plays Bob Fossil in The Mighty Boosh, and I'm surprised he can even read. So that
Slammed.
I mean, I don't know if you know Bob Fossil, but
I do not.
He was trained as a lawyer, I think. I think he has a law degree.
every time
I mean, so do I. The bar's so low.
when I was reading it, though, I was like, "How can this man write?" It's nothing other than like rubbish. But it was blowing my mind that he could read. Actually, do you remember when I got that cameo, Laura, from him?
Oh my God.
Did you ever get money back from that?
No, we got another one.
Okay.
I'll have to see, because I got one. It was so funny because all he did was, and it's such a I don't know, quintessential Bob Fossil moment. He like picked up the phone and then it like turned upside down and then the recording ended. And that was it. It was so funny. Brian got it for me for my birthday. And then I did get another one. But the first one is arguably funnier than the second one. But my goal for this year was 20. So apparently
God.
410%.
But that's so crazy, because didn't you in 2021, didn't you only read 18 books or something like that?
Yeah.
Because you were studying.
Yeah.
I just can't get over the way you've increased that volume.
Well, the last 3 years I've only read 18 and then 19.
Wow.
Oh my God.
2018 I read 60.
You know what's crazy is like I'm studying too. So one of us is much more committed to our studies than the other, because I'm like, I'm not doing a good job.
I only did 2 subjects though this year, like in the semester.
And you still put in the work.
She's putting in the work. Hashtag girl boss.
Yeah, hashtag
Yeah.
girl boss. I was really upset though, just to brag a little bit,
Oh.
because I got a GPA of 6, GPA of 6, and then I thought I'd graduate with honours, and then I didn't graduate with honours.
Why?
I don't know. It didn't say anything on there. I thought
Rude.
I'd get a certificate that said whatever it was with honours, but I didn't. So
You should
sad.
ask them about it.
Yeah, I just feel like a university knows more than me. You know.
They're working for a university.
it's
they
not
definitely
true.
Don't.
Yeah.
They definitely do not.
Oh, well, it doesn't matter. But I think that maybe my goal, I don't know, I was thinking today I should do 200,
Oh my God.
but that might be a bit too much.
That's actually mental.
I'll try. I'll see. Maybe 150. If not, I'll go 200.
Before we continue, I have a story to tell.
Oh, yes. Do you remember the pod story?
I've been hoarding pod stories.
Amazing.
Yes.
But this one especially is apt. So one of my uni friends, I've been trying to get her to read Daisy Jones and the Six for ages. And she recently started and she texted me and she was like, oh my God, I love it so much. I'm like, see, I fucking told you it's a good book. And she's like, yeah, I trust your recommendations now. I said, what do you mean now? And she said, well, when you told me you were reading those fairy porn books with your friends, I didn't trust you anymore.
Fair enough.
That is so funny.
Let's start talking about this book because I have so much to say and I'm exercising so much self-restraint to not say anything. So I think to set the scene, before we head in, as always, what were your initial thoughts, expectations, hopes and dreams heading into this book?
I had like next to no thoughts about this book. All I knew is that it was Raylo fanfic and it was like set in a university. That was it. I didn't even know it was like fake dating trope. I didn't know anything about it. And I kind of wish I still knew nothing about it.
No, Erin, it's a spoiler. I didn't know anything about it either. I knew it was Raylo, and opposite to Erin, was so keen. I was also so happy not to be reading fantasy books and not having to think about fairies and mates and all that shit. So I was so keen.
I find that so interesting because so many times during this book, I was like, this is just like ACOTAR.
That's an insult to ACOTAR.
I was going to say that I think that it's what I wanted from ACOTAR, but I didn't get.
Oh my God. We're getting
you
too
kidding?
far into it. Go, you have to do your initial thoughts, Laura, and then we can fight about this.
I was really excited to read it because I have seen it on so many BookTok things saying like, best romances that you have to read, enemies to lovers, like blah, blah, blah. And I have perused a few. I think I was coming off the high of reading Book Lovers and I thought that was going to be pretty bad, but I really liked Book Lovers. And so I thought, whoa, maybe ACOTAR was a miss and the love hypothesis is going to be amazing. I'd only seen good things about it. And I did know that it was a Raylo fanfic, but I thought maybe it would be just loosely inspired. But yeah, I went into it feeling good and I left a changed woman. As always, if you haven't read The Love Hypothesis and want to keep things fresh and mysterious, this is your warning that this episode will definitely contain spoilers. Also, if you don't like rude words, proceed with caution as we're known to throw a few around.
When a fake relationship between scientists meets the irresistible force of attraction, it throws one woman's carefully calculated theories on love into chaos.
As a third-year PhD candidate, Olive Smith doesn't believe in lasting romantic relationships. But her best friend does, and that's what got her into this situation.
Convincing Anne that Olive is dating and well on her way to a happily ever after was always going to take more than just hand-wavy Jedi mind tricks. Scientists require proof.
So like any self-respecting biologist, Olive panics and kisses the first man she sees.
That man is none other than Adam Carlson, a young hotshot professor and well-known arse. Which is why Olive is positively floored when Stanford's reigning lab tyrant agrees to keep her charade a secret and be her fake boyfriend.
But when a big science conference goes haywire, putting Olive's career on the Bunsen burner, Adam surprises her again, with his unyielding support and even more unyielding six-pack abs. And Olive discovers that the only thing more complicated than a hypothesis on love is putting her own heart under the microscope.
Okay, well, I'll start. Olive is one of the most boring characters I've ever had to listen to.
Oh my God. I'm right there with you.
I can't stand her, and I think Anne is a shit friend.
I liked Anne.
What?
No.
Oh, wait, no, sorry. I liked Olive.
No, you didn't.
What?
I felt bad for her.
Oh my God.
You've pitied her.
I hate Olive, but I think she's poorly written. She had promise, but she's boring as hell and I hate her.
Was there any well-written character in this book?
No.
Thanks. Correct.
Sorry, I feel like I'm shouting, but I hate them all.
I would say I liked Adam as well.
No, you didn't. Shut up.
I did.
No, you didn't.
I loved Adam so much.
He did grow on me as the book went on.
Oh my
But-
God.
No, I wouldn't go so far as to say I liked him.
I didn't like any of the others, but I did like Adam and I did like Olive.
Oh, God.
To me, all of the characters, there was absolutely nothing that differentiated them on paper.
No.
Apart from the fact that she would say, said Anne, said
Yeah.
Adam. Like they were all like the same bullshit millennial pumpkin
Yes.
spice, smart ass, like
Oh,
witty.
my fucking God.
Like I'm so cool. Oh my God.
That scene at the end where they're on the double date and they're like, oh my God, Adam and Malcolm are the same person. Oh my God,
Oh
Olive
my
and
God.
Holden are the same person. Shut
Who's
up.
Malcolm?
Malcolm's her
Malcolm's her
friend.
friend.
Malcolm's the Poe
The roommate.
character and Malcolm's the Finn character and Holden's the Poe character.
I just don't know. Like, I don't know how to constructively talk about this because I just don't know where to begin. Let's backtrack to Olive, I think.
One of the first things I was so confused about was in the start of the book, it's like she's British, and then suddenly you're like, okay, she's Canadian, and then it never fucking comes up again. And then she starts saying weird shit like that she's weepy. No one fucking says they're weepy unless they're British. Is she meant to be British or Canadian? I don't understand, and it really made me so annoyed.
I don't know any English people that say weepy.
I don't know anyone who says weepy. Like, who fucking says that?
And God, wasn't being Canadian such a fucking chip on her shoulder?
Oh, God. As if it's so fucking different.
Oh my
Basically
God.
the same fucking country.
Yeah, but I feel like if you were Canadian, you would be really adamant that you are not from the United States. I would.
But she
if I was
hated it. She was
Canadian.
like, I don't want to go back there. Don't deport me to Canada.
that whole 3 paragraphs at the start of the book where Olive talks about how much she loves Anne was 1,000% more romantic than anything else that fucking happens in the book.
Yeah.
When she's like, oh my God, I love Anne so much. She's my other half. She's my person.
I find that so boring. I was just like, yeah, whatever, moving on.
It was boring.
Yeah,
But it
that
was
bit.
still the most romantic bit in the book.
not.
I think that it was the first thing Erin was like, I started reading the book, I read one page. First thing she pointed out, and I think it summarizes the character of Olive perfectly and really sets the tone for the kind of reading experience you're going to have. I'm just going to read it, the very first few lines. Frankly, Olive was a bit on the fence about this whole grad school thing. Not because she didn't like science. Bracket. She did. She loved science. Science was her thing. Close bracket.
Okay, just because I'm saying I love it and I love Adam and I love Olive, it was bad, but I loved it. But this is another bit that is so bad on the exact same page 1.
It's so bad.
She was well aware that committing to years of unappreciated, underpaid 80-hour work weeks might not be good for her mental health. That nights spent toiling away in front of a Bunsen burner to uncover a trivial slice of knowledge might not be the key to happiness. My question was, does Ali Hazelwood actually have a background in science?
I
Because
think not.
I
Oh my God,
don't.
does she?
But if I was going to write a book about science, the only thing I would know is a Bunsen burner.
You guys, this is so interesting. This is something I wanted to talk about because this whole book, I was like, oh, it's a fan fiction. Clearly someone who's 16 years old, wrote this. And then I looked it up and Ali Hazelwood is actually a pseudonym, it's a pen name. And we have some information about who she is. So she's in her 30s. There's lots of pictures of Ali Hazelwood, but her writing identity and her scientific identity are different. So she's her not her scientific identity, but who she publishes as in her academic career, I guess.
Oh.
So there's this article that I was looking at on the Washington Post that I don't actually know much about the Washington Post as a reliable source, but it's an interview with Ali Hazelwood from August 2022. And it says, Ali Hazelwood is hiding in plain sight. Search the best-selling romance author's name online and you'll see plenty of photos of the smiling, spectacled brunette. Not to mention a TikTok of her gamely autographing a fan's chest, blah, blah, blah. She'd rather not divulge her real name. She was born and raised in Italy, and she's a neuroscientist and professor living with her husband somewhere in America, and she's in her 30s.
Oh my God.
Okay, so maybe she does know more about science than me. Sorry, Elliot.
But it doesn't seem like that, right?
No,
like
no.
she's always like, ugh, I did a thing with a Bunsen burner and gems.
But also the use of like trivial in that sentence that Bridget read out makes no sense. Like, I don't actually think any of the discoveries made are trivial. Like,
That's true.
she goes to be on like a cancer biologist or some shit, right? Like, that's not trivial science. It's important stuff.
Yeah.
But actually, the character of Olive contradicts herself so many times in the book. And one of the main ones that really fucking annoyed me was when she talks about how in high school she's not like every other girl and she played all the sports that she could play. And then later in that same chapter, she refers to sports as sports ball. Like, you've played all the sports, but you don't know a single sport. Like,
I'm
are
not
you
like other
fucking
girls.
kidding me? Oh, it makes me so angry. Like, we get it. You're the only girl in STEM. Like, shut the fuck up.
Can I read out another bit that I highlighted in that vein? This book is just riddled with like pick me, not like other girls, quirky girl-isms. Like, it's just such an insufferable read.
Yep.
So she's wearing the black wrap dress that has shrunk in the wash and black pumps. She groaned and snapped a picture for Anne and Malcolm, who texted her, respectively, still conference appropriate and a fire emoji. Olive prayed that Anne was right as she combed the waves in her hair and fought against dried out mascara. Her fault for buying makeup at the dollar store, clearly. And she's just so quirky. She just doesn't even care about these things.
Something that really annoyed me and about Olive is the first bit about wearing expired contacts.
Oh, she's literally going blind. Why is she arguing with this guy? Like,
I just find it so unbelievable.
It's stupid.
That she doesn't recognize him by his voice or by... She just never makes that connection until ages later that he was the same guy. Like, oh, gee, I wonder who it could have been. Some big guy. Like,
the biggest man
that's what I was
she's
going to
ever
say. He's so allegedly colossally large. Like, who else could it be?
The fucking biggest man in the world.
Biggest boy.
Fucking move over, Shaquille O'Neal. There's a bigger man in town.
Maybe because isn't there this article about like the overwhelming largeness of Adam Driver? There's so much to say as well, because let's segue into a chat about Adam, who is clearly Kylo Ren, aka Adam Driver, and is in fact called Adam in this book, which
that's wild.
To me raises some weird ethical questions. Like, firstly, should that be done?
Is this
Answer,
real
probably
person
no.
fiction?
Yeah, it makes for a really uneasy read, because this is clearly just like a bit of a self-serving fanfic about Adam Driver, I think. And I find it really hard to picture Olive. I know almost nothing about what she looks like, what her life is, how she acts, how she thinks. Like, apart from her being just a nervous overthinker, her thoughts don't really...
She's the smallest girl in the world. She's literally so small.
Even though she's 5'8" or something.
She's so tiny.
There's even that bit where she's like, oh my God, I forgot how small I feel when he's around. Shut up.
I think I highlighted something from when she was sitting on his lap in that lecture, and he's like, you're so tiny, you weigh literally nothing.
Oh. She's just a sexy baby.
Oh, God.
But to me, she was just like kind of like even more so than Feyre, just like a nothing character that's a window into like this little porno with Adam Driver.
But see, like, it's not even a porno because you only get one sex scene and it sucks.
Oh, it made me puke.
But before we get onto that, I actually think Adam is one of the most boring characters ever.
Aww.
Anytime she talks to him, he has like one-word responses.
I absolutely agree with you. Sorry, Bridget, you can't get a word in this episode.
We're just ranting. I'm so sorry.
Fine.
But
you'll get your chance to rebut.
This whole book is based around this premise of like grumpy guy and sunshine girl, and we're told like at least 40 times in the first 20 pages what a known ass he is, and like, oh, he's such a smart ass and he's so mean. But it seems like he's literally the only person doing his job at this campus.
Yes.
And like, forgive him for wanting to raise scientists that know how to do their job properly. And he literally addresses this in a section where he's like, I just want people to do a good job and like create reliable, credible information. And she's like, that's actually so fucked up. You don't even care what people think about you. I can't believe you don't care if people like you. And he's like,
It's like, wait,
you're
what?
so right. I love you. Let's kiss. My point is that throughout this whole book, he seems pretty nice. He seems a little bit socially awkward, a little bit standoffish, but he doesn't do anything mean. He's just doing his job.
Yes.
I really like him, and I think that's what I was going to say. That was everything I had prepared in my head. He's never actually mean to anybody. He doesn't make it personal. He's willing to go along with her far-fetched plan. He does all the things he doesn't want to do just to make her happy.
Yeah.
And he's just nice. I really like him.
Yeah, which comes
He's
to
so
what
respectful.
I was going to say, this is labelled as enemies to lovers.
Yeah.
He's not an enemy. He's never been an enemy.
Yeah.
It's just
they didn't even
lovers.
know each other.
Yeah. It's just strangers to lovers, which is literally how lovers work. Like, that's not even a trope. That's just romance.
One day we didn't know, and then we did.
There's this section later in the book where she's like, I think it's when they're at the conference, and she's like, are we friends? And he goes, yeah. And I was like, are they? Because every interaction they've had up to that point has been orchestrated by Anne being like, look, oh my God, it's your boyfriend. You should go kiss him because he did X, Y, Z. And then they do the thing and they're both like, oh, it's so awkward. I can't believe we did that. We're literally so random for this fake dating scenario. Bye. Like, they don't have any, I think if the only interactions between your protagonists are there because some other character forces them into it, like they don't have enough chemistry to be a couple if they're just forced into these scenarios and they don't happen organically.
Also, I hated every time that she would say something like self-deprecating or like joke about dumping each other, or that bring up that they were fake dating, and he would always say something quietly that like refuted whatever she said, and she was always like, I don't know what he means when he says that.
She was
what
so
the fuck
dumb.
do you think he means? Are you stupid?
And I could have told you every single plot thing
God.
hours before it happened.
Oh,
like,
it killed me.
I knew exactly what was going to happen at every point. But you know what? Still loved it.
I'm happy that you're happy.
Yeah, like, good for you, Bridget.
But also,
Sorry, I know how to have a good time, guys.
it just didn't make any fucking sense.
Yes, it did.
No, like when he was like, oh, you can't bike there. There's no bike lanes there.
I
How the
mean,
fuck do
fair
you know?
enough.
How do you know if you're not biking anywhere? How would you even know where the bike lanes
Because he
are?
drives and he sees there's no room for a bike, okay?
But also, I'm pretty sure research funding cannot work like how it works in this book. Having worked
That's
in
what
research
I was
funding,
wondering.
I'm like, no.
How would you know? You're not a scientist.
I've worked in research funding. It doesn't
You don't
work like
work at
that.
Stanford.
But one of the things that really irrationally annoyed me was when she said that he had 70,000 square meters of windows in his office. That's so much fucking window. He doesn't have it. He doesn't have 70,000 square meters of window.
You might. Again, you've never been to Stanford.
It'd have to be the biggest
Oh
fucking
my God.
office.
Her inner monologue was exhausting. And the fact, like, there was just so many arbitrary little sections of this. Like, this book could have been at least 60% shorter if she just shut up. And, like, it was so bizarre because all of these little offshoots operated in the same way. Like, we would have non-italicized text that would say, like, oh, my God, he was so big. He was so large. Oh my God. Oh, ... She was heavy on the ellipses.
Yeah.
And then it would have some thoughts in italics that were also like, crap. Holy crap. Frick. Like, and then they had emails and they had text communication. It was like, just pick one. Just pick one.
Actually, that's something I found really unbelievable. She was always like, I think I left my phone in the car.
Oh.
Can't relate. Anyway. I feel like I didn't know anything about Anne or Malcolm.
Malcolm was probably my favorite character in the whole book.
Malcolm.
He seemed the most fleshed out and the most realistic and offered reliable advice and wasn't doing dumb shit like, oh my my God, go put sunscreen on your boyfriend. Kiss. Now kith. Like,
Malcolm was so boring to me.
No, he was the only realistic character. The only, like, normal person.
I hated anything about Malcolm, and I think that the end of the book was so bad. When
it was.
He started going out with Holden. Why did we need that? I hated that. The stupid double date they went on. Get rid of all of that. Burn it. I hated it so much. It was so dumb.
it was agonizing. I don't know where to insert this informational query, but something I noticed, and I want your thoughts on this, but so we had Dr. Aslan, and then we had a research paper by Khaleesi et al.
I didn't notice that.
And then we had Holden, and I'm wondering if Holden is a reference at all to that series with Hero Fiends. It was like a Harry Potter fan fiction. No, a Harry Styles One Direction fan fiction, and got made into a movie and a book.
Oh,
it was like
the after one.
Yes, that's what it's
Yeah.
called. That character's called Holden, and like I just don't think who else is called Holden. But
I was thinking that what's that book I hated?
You mean Holden Caulfield?
Yeah. What's
oh
that one?
yeah, Catcher in the
I
Rye.
hate that book.
Yeah, that stupid book. I was just thinking like these are just references she's pulled from pop culture, and it made me annoyed.
I didn't even notice. It's so
I
funny.
didn't pick up on the Khaleesi one, but something that did annoy me about the research papers, Olive talks about stalking Adam's publications, right? She's like, I looked at everything he did. And then she's like, oh my God, I didn't know Tom was his collaborator. How? They've written papers together. How did you not know?
Yeah, she's clearly not a very thorough reader. Like when they go to the conference and he's like, yeah, I'm the keynote speaker. And then she's like, oh my God, how did we not know this? It's 'cause you guys literally have never had a conversation. That's why. That's why,
You didn't
babe.
fucking read the stuff except for where it said your name.
Oh my God. Maybe we are just picking books with illiterate protagonists.
Oh my God.
I don't know if the story really did much for like scientist reputations, because I've come away feeling like just a bunch of like bozos just all hooking up. If I were a scientist, I would be pretty anti this book because I think they're all quite inappropriate.
Yeah. Like there's a section. Adam Driver says, you're a grad student currently depending on me for a place to stay, and even not, the power I have over you could easily turn into a coercive dynamic. She says, I'm not feeling coerced. Yeah, mate. Like you hit the nail on the head. There is a definite power imbalance here, I think, that is like addressed, quote unquote, addressed in this one sentence. But he's like 10 years older than her, and he is in a senior position. Stop. You're so sexy when you talk about consent with me.
I actually thought that was just a really like token. Here, look, we addressed consent here.
Yeah.
We addressed the
same.
problem in the room.
Same.
It doesn't matter. They bang anyway. Also, I really want to talk about the car pushing scene, because pushing a car is not that hard if it's already in gear. Like, it's not that
I thought it was
hard.
incredible. So the car pushing thing, because she was somehow still surprised when it turned out that he had a six pack.
Yeah.
Like every time she sees him, she's like, wow, I love these black t-shirts. It's like they were made for him, but everyone is slightly different. Wow, so form-fitting. And then he pushes a car, and then she sees like a glimpse of his skin on his torso or something and like freaks out.
Yeah.
And then
oh my God.
and then when they're at the picnic, oh my God, he has a six pack. What did you think he had? He like doesn't eat. He just eats vegetables.
Yeah.
He says the only thing he does is work out.
Yeah.
He pushes a car. You can see everything in his black t-shirts anyway.
Yeah.
Why are you surprised?
Something I was wondering, like, I think I found this is definitely a painful read, but a part of the reason I think I might have found this so painful to read was because of the sort of secondhand embarrassment I experienced having previously written fan fiction. And to me, like, I remember writing this kind of stuff where, like, whatever wishy-washy Mary Sue, like, good at everything, everyone loves her, she can't see how amazing she is, but everyone else can kind of character was just like a placeholder for me. And I was just hooking up with every hot man under the sun. And I just feel like, yeah, maybe I just wondered if it was acting as some kind of wish fulfillment and I was getting secondhand embarrassment because I remember doing the same.
I think you were embarrassed because it was bad.
I admire it for its authenticity and following through with the Adam Driver thirst, but yeah, I don't know. I was just wondering, like, okay, so this one section that really made me think that, let me find it. They're riffing, this is a section in the book where they're talking about what if Adam does like Olive and like how she should just tell him how she feels. And then she's like, there's no way. Why not? Because what? Because he's him. He's Carlson. And she trailed off. No need to continue. And I'm me. I'm nothing special. Malcolm was quiet for a long moment. You have no idea, do you? His tone was sad. You're great. You're beautiful and loving. You're independent and a genius scientist and selfless and loyal. Hell, oh, look at this ridiculous mess you created just so your friend could date the guy she likes without feeling guilty. There's no way Carlson hasn't noticed. Piss off, as if.
Yuck.
Yuck, vomit in my mouth.
Have we done Jeremy?
Who's that?
No.
No, fuck Jeremy. Boring character. Useless. He's only there to give her an excuse to fucking do this fake dating bullshit.
Yeah, Jeremy sucks.
But you know what? I think the reason I don't like Aunt is because there's clearly something wrong with her and Olive's friendship because, like, this whole book could have been avoided if Olive just felt like she could really talk to Aunt and vice versa because, like, this literally should have been a conversation between friends.
Yes, she's a bad friend. And the whole time she's always like putting the onus on Olive to apologize for shit or to make stuff happen or to remember everything that's happening in Arne's life. Like, it's nonsense. And also, I want to pick holes in the sunscreen nonsense because Arne is not a true sunscreen user if she's only making them put sunscreen on when they're already in the sun because you've got to put it on half an hour before you're in the sun. So she's already done them all dirty for making them put it on when they're outside of the car.
But Erin, that's not sexy when they do it in the car.
Well, sexy over skin cancer.
So when Olive was invited to present at the conference, Tom, who is going to be her supervisor the next year, has been offered a place to study with him at Harvard, I think. And he's in the audience, and then afterwards he comes up and tries to sexually assault her, basically, and sexually harasses her. Says some pretty horrible things, and I did feel really sad for her. Knew what was going to happen as soon as she said that she was going to record the her presentation. I knew exactly what was going to happen, and I don't know why it took her so long to figure out that his threats were on the recording because she was like, my phone is flat because I was actually recording for like hours. Funny. But didn't even think at one point like, oh, wait, hang on. That horrible thing happened to me. It's on record?
My only other commentary about Holden is related to this. When she goes to Holden and is like, hey, should I tell Adam about this thing that happened? And he's like, I can't answer that for you. Yeah, you can.
He's a professor, right?
He just wanted to opt out and then gave her these 3 really vague clues that would help her figure out if she was supposed to tell him. Like, it's not a fucking riddle I wanted, Holden. I wanted guidance. You useless fuck.
Then I thought that her reaction was probably a realistic one. Like, she just went home and cried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Complete,
very sad.
Complete freeze response.
Yeah.
I actually think this book did a pretty good job of addressing some of the like issues faced by women in STEM, which are very real and valid issues. However, I felt like they were often like really trivialized, and so you took them less seriously because A, the relationship wasn't serious, but also like she didn't take them seriously herself. Like there's this bit at the start of the book when she's wanging on about how much she loves Anne, where she's like, I knew it was hard to be a woman in STEM, but when Anne told me what she'd been through, like I was befuddled. Well, you couldn't be befuddled if you already knew what the situation was.
And like Adam and what's-her-face, Olive, spend the whole first part of their relationship bantering about whether he's going to like put in a formal complaint about her sexually harassing him. So
yeah, like
they're making light of it from the start. Like, what a funny joke, you kissed me without consent. Maybe I will, maybe I won't report it. What a cute flirt that we're doing right now. Yay.
Yeah. And then like there was also so much misogyny throughout when, like, she gets blamed for his behavior when he gives bad feedback to that guy.
That guy was a jerk. That was so uncalled for.
And, like,
also just do a better assignment. Yeah.
But this is a great segue into the sex scene.
Yeah.
Because I need to talk about it. It is so bad. It's
I mean,
so
I have
fucking
to
bad.
admire its the authenticity of the awkwardness. You know, like, it's not always a seamless endeavor, but this scene was particularly painful.
So the other night, Erin said to me, I'm up to like chapter 7, but I'm so sick of how many times she says that he's so big. And I was like, but Erin, you have to hear that so many times, because then something later in the book happens. It won't make sense why it happens, which is the part when he decides to finger her. And he can't fit past the first knuckle.
God.
Shall we read it out?
Yeah.
God.
Okay.
This whole thing.
How long?
right.
Like 3 centimeters?
Yeah.
Let me go.
Look, even with someone with big hands, it's not a very big knuckle.
So, as unbelievable as that was, I think it would have been even more implausible if you hadn't heard 3 million times how big he was.
He's a large man. I wish that she like a choice that she had made was putting him in leather pants as per Kylo. Let me read this finger bit out to you.
A finger bit.
So he's finger blasting her. We can say that, right? Amongst friends. He had big fingers. That must be why they didn't fit. The first knuckle was just shy of too much, a pinching ache and the sensation of damp, uncomfortable fullness. She shifted on her heels, trying to adjust and make room, and then shifted some more until he had to grip her hip with his other hand to keep her still. Olive held onto his shoulders, his skin sweat slicked and scorching hot under her palms. Shh.
Yuck. I also want to comment on some really bad phrasing.
Please go ahead.
But I also want to comment on when he calls her edible and she says that he fits her entire breast in his mouth.
She did say at one point that how lucky it was that she was so small because she doesn't have to wear a bra.
I don't hear that your whole
I got
tits
stuck
in
on
his
that.
mouth.
I was very confused.
And then the follow-up, the bit just before that where he says, "You're edible, Olive." And then she's like, "That's probably an insult, considering that you only like wheatgrass and broccoli." Like, shut up.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. Also, she really overused the oh moments.
Yeah.
I want to fucking kill myself if I have to read that again.
Oh my goodness. Okay, but there is a bit though where I think he's still finger banging her, and then he's like, "Oh, have you done this before, by the way?" And she's like, "Oh, a couple of times in college." And then he's like, "Oh," and then he's like, "Oh, so you're like a virgin?" And she's like, "I'm literally not." And then he's like, "Oh, okay, like literally, you should have told me that." And then he goes, "You are such a smart ass."
No, doesn't he say something like you're basically a virgin? Because she's like fucked like 2 guys. You're basically a virgin. Like,
let me read this.
Does he think he's too big? Well, obviously he does. But then also they're like,
because it looked enormous by now, and he winced as he touched it.
ugh. But then yeah. But then there's that whole bit where she's like, virginity is binary. Actually, it's a fucking construct and it's made up anyway, so just fuck already. Like,
she's talking about chi-square, maybe Spearman's correlation, logistic regression, the logit model, and that stupid sigmoid function. Shut up.
yeah, honestly,
buzzword.
if I was like trying to bang someone and they start like chucking out those words, I'm like, actually, you know what? I'm putting my clothes on. I'm going home.
I'm out.
You're boring as hell.
that bit where he's like, oh, have you had sex before? And she goes, I can figure it out. I learned wholesale patch clamp in a couple of hours. Sex can't be much harder. And I bet you can do this all the time. So you can tell me how. And then he's like, what? I wanted to talk about some of the language used at this certain point in the book where they're talking about, I think, like, still whether she's comfortable having sex. Basically, he's like, if there's any reason you don't want to have sex or you're not comfortable with it, like, just let me know. And then she says, it's not that I don't want to not have sex. I just don't particularly want to have it. There is something weird about my brain and my body, and I don't know what's wrong with me. And I don't seem to be able to experience attraction like other people, like normal people. And I feel like that's really sad because I think she's admitting that she's asexual or has, like, lower sexual desire, or I don't know, like is just verging off from this sort of generally typically portrayed sexual desire in books or whatever. And it's the only time it's acknowledged, and it's acknowledged in such a negative light.
Yeah.
And then just breezed over, and they continue having at it. That was like one of the most interesting things about Olive for me in this book. And it made her a really sympathetic character for me. Because I was like, oh, yeah. And then he was going to be a respectful king, and they were going to have a real talk about, like, sex and what it means to them, or something like that. I don't know. But no such thing. They continued banging.
They can't say more than 2 sentences to each other, though. That would be unreasonable.
And I think, like, I do understand why you thought it was cute and why you enjoyed it. I think it's just that the whole thing was like those cutesy little, like, look at what a sweet couple we are, but I just didn't care that they were a couple. I just didn't see them having any relationship or any chemistry in order to enjoy the cute stuff that they were doing. It was just like, maybe because maybe it's because you kind of are your team Raylo anyway, so you have ever so slightly more skin in the game, even though it's, I know it's like not the same thing. But I personally don't really enjoy Raylo anyway, so I was like, I don't want to be reading about this with that in mind.
But I think it's interesting as well because I didn't particularly think of Raylo while reading this. I didn't even feel like it was particularly, like, reflective of the source material.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he wasn't killing people, was he?
I wish he was.
That would have really made him a known ass.
Yeah.
Actually, like...
Yeah, he really did nothing.
When he flipped out when he found out about Tom, that was, like, the only time he did anything that you're like, okay, that's him being a bad guy, I guess, but, like, for good reasons. But even then she was like, oh, I should be frightened, but I'm not. Like, are you fucking okay, Olive? You need to go to therapy.
Oh my God, I just remembered the best thing ever. When you said her name, I just remembered something.
It's early in the book.
It's on page 5.
Damn.
She held out her hand in what she hoped was his general direction. I'm Olive, by the way, like the tree.
God. Oh my God, and when Malcolm keeps calling her his little Kalamata, shut up. Why would you give her a nickname that's more syllables than her real name?
And I think it's so dumb because when I think olive, I don't think olive tree. I think of an actual olive.
Yes.
Like, I'm Olive, by the way, like an olive. It's not. It's not a weird name. It's not a like left field name or whatever. It's a pretty common name. You don't need to like clarify which. Oh, you mean that olive? I thought you meant the olive that was like a chair or something.
Imagine if she was like, I'm Olive, like the martini garnish.
I'm Olive, like the feta stuffed version. Coming back to the sex scene, though, I want to read. I'm reading a lot this episode, but I really want to read this section when he finally gets it in. I've highlighted it. It's bright yellow and it has a note tab. You're so big. He groaned into her neck. His entire body was vibrating with tension. You can take it. I can, she told him, voice reedy, and her breath caught halfway through the second word. Women gave birth, after all, except that he was not in. Not really. Not even half. And there was just no more room. Olive looked up at him. His eyes were closed, dark half moons against his skin, and his jaw was tense. What if it's too much?
The women gave birth, bitch.
Really? really pulled me out of it.
Yes.
Ew.
If you're thinking about like giving birth, like your head is not in the game.
She's a scientist.
God.
That she's really put a critical eye to that. Yeah.
But I actually, even though it's called the love hypothesis, I expected her like area of study to be like romance and relationships or something. And then which I thought would be a really interesting way of doing it. Like think like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days vibes.
Yes.
She dates someone for her research project and then has to like write about it and then feels bad morally because she never told them.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I thought was going to happen. But also the hypotheses at the start of each chapter made no sense. And like
I stopped reading them. They were so annoying.
they were
Same.
annoying and weren't actual hypotheses.
No, I'm glad you say that because I only did science up to like grade 9 or something, and I thought I don't think this checks out.
No, hypotheses are meant to be like that statement.
There was one that was so dumb. Let me find it. Hypothesis. When given a chance between A, a slightly inconveniencing situation, and B, a colossal shit show with devastating consequences, I will inevitably end up selecting B.
Yeah, there were so many sections where she was like, yep, this was my life. This was actually happening. Oh my God, how did I get here? But it's like you could get out of this situation very easily through the conversation you should have had with your friend at the start of the book or a conversation with literally anyone. Every word Olive put into the world was giving the painful millennial energy of, so I did a thing. I want to find this section. It's like one of the few conversations we have between Anne and Olive that isn't exclusively about Adam. And it like really could have gone, I could have gone without it because it's really cringe. So they're talking about what they would do. They're having a beer and a little girls' night in, and they're talking about what they would do if they had money. And Anne says that she would buy a wireless vacuum cleaner. Olive giggled drunkenly and turned to her side, making the bed squeak. Seriously? A vacuum cleaner? A wireless one. It's the shit, Ol. That is what? Just Olive giggled some more. It's the most random thing.
It's literally not. You guys are almost 30. You've got to be vacuuming your fucking house.
A robot vacuum would be super nice. I would buy one if I was rich. I was wondering if my opinion heading in was tainted anyway, knowing that it started as a fan fiction, I think, or was written on Wattpad. And I was wondering if you guys think that, like, is your expectation that fan fiction in general is just bad? Is like a sub-quality writing? Is sub-quality writing?
I think like I didn't really think that much about it. I thought it was funny that it was a fan fiction. But I guess if you think about other fan fictions that have made it big, like like 50 Shades of Grey or that one we were talking about before, After, they're sort of known to be not good. So I guess it does have a reputation.
I don't have any like bias against fan fiction. I don't necessarily expect it to be bad, but I often think it's almost like a simpler form of fiction. So I don't expect really intense world building because there's an assumption you already know the world and the characters. So it's really focused on like character progression rather than like actual storytelling perhaps.
That's a great point. I think that's really true. That's certainly the way that I treated fan fiction back in my day when I was writing my steaming heaps of Harry Potter fan fiction. It was just like, yay, no world building. Let's do some cool shit with these really hot characters I made.
I don't like fan fiction when it's alternate reality. I like for them to be in the same reality.
Ooh,
and
canon
just,
universe.
Hey?
Canon universe.
Yeah, and I like just knowing a bit more about stuff.
Gaps and silences?
Yeah, I was trying not to say that, but yeah, exactly.
Would you say you like to know their Christmas celebratory habits and whether they have snowball fights?
If
Shut up.
if it's available, yeah. Your Harry Potter fan fiction. When I was in grade 7, I used to write the Veronica's fan fiction.
Very
and
cool.
it was very boring, and all they would ever do is like get really famous, and then they would each marry somebody, and then they would each have twins.
Oh my god.
And that was
a
about
complex family tree.
Yeah.
Maybe at the end of the year we should get an AI to write a fan fiction from like amalgamating all of the books we've read for the year.
Maybe we should have a competition about who can write the best fanfic.
I don't know that I
About us.
Oh my god. Are we writing the fanfics or are we asking for submissions?
Oh god.
Either one.
That both would be really fun and
Yeah.
I'm down for that.
I think
we've
we're
talked about
done.
that.
Are we done?
Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah. I think so. Are we
that's-
rating little shit?
Yeah, okay. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that we don't have enough data after this scientific book to do a favourite or least favourite character. Does everyone agree?
Yeah, I reckon I can do it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we'll start with favourites. So on the count of 3, everyone say your favourite. 1, 2, 3.
Malcolm.
Holden. Oh. Okay.
Who?
I panicked. I didn't think about it because I was running the show. That's why there was such a big gap between 2 and 3.
Did you say Holden?
I said Holden, but I panicked. I think I mean Malcolm.
They sound exactly the same, to be fair.
Look, they're basically the same fucking character.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we'll do least favourites on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Olive.
Interesting. Oops. Olive would be very close, but Anne pissed me off.
She's a bad friend.
She's a shit friend. She doesn't know shit about sunscreen. Like, in the bin. Put her in the bin.
She's going to get frickin' sunburned.
Okay, so that takes us to the end of the episode. Last thing we have to do now is rate it lit or shit. So, count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Shit. I feel really bad, Bridget. I feel like we didn't even let you get a single sentence in.
That's fine.
This is our first fight, and actually, we're gonna pull a Fleetwood Mac after this. So, I do feel bad, but this is exciting. I was really worried. I was like voice messaging you guys. Oh my god, what if the love hypothesis is too good and we can't think of anything to say about it? I was really worried that we'd need to pick more obviously shit books, like Colleen Hoover or something. Ooh.
I have had a request from a listener to do a Colleen Hoover book.
Yes.
So
I'd be down.
But
Yeah.
Bridget, considering you're the only one who liked it and we're talked over all episode, do you have any closing statements to make?
Raylo forever. And
Boo.
Adliv forever.
Ad-lib.
I couldn't think of anything else.
I hate it.
You keep being you, Adam and Olive. I nearly said Feyre.
When Feyre and Rhysand had the real and there was only one bed moment.
Favor remembered her pajamas one too many times.
Oh my god! I forgot that she forgot her pajamas. One more thing. If you knew you were going to stay in a hotel with someone that you were in love with, you would remember your pajamas and you would remember to bring nice pajamas.
Yes.
You would not forget. I would buy new pajamas.
But like, let's say she did actually forget them. There's no way she had no other clothes she could have worn as pajamas. Like, what did she wear to travel that day? She could have worn that to bed. She could have just fucking worn the dress to bed.
At the end of the Google Doc, I've just added one screenshot, which was a review I found on Goodreads. 1 star. I don't think Raylos deserve human rights. Sorry.
Agreed.
Now that we've got the hell that was the ACOTAR series out of our system, we'll be releasing episodes monthly so that we have enough time to digest these delightful books and prepare these podcasts for you. Our next episode will be out on Valentine's Day, and the second book we'll be perusing for a bruising in 2023 will be Beach Read. In the meantime, if you want to be on the same page as us, you can follow us at talklit.gethit on Instagram and TikTok.